Hey guys, Chev again. We're continuing our Fantasy Grounds tutorial. In the last episode, I went over how to use Fantasy Grounds in its most basic components, without using anything else, without even creating character sheets, just using it as if it was a regular raw tabletop. And it was kind of rough. Has a few bugs here for the drawing and stuff on the images. And so I imagine those things will get better as they improve the user experience for Fantasy Grounds. But for now, the easiest way to use Fantasy Grounds is just to learn a little bit more about it and actually use it a little bit more properly, but still not using everything. To that end, I'm going to be using what I call shell sheets. Basically, if you really want to create a character in Fantasy Grounds, like the proper way, then you have to do this. So let's go close out all of our windows here. I'm actually going to delete our battle map because we're not going to use that for now. We'll create a new one. To create a character, I'm actually going to delete this guy too. This character we created from last time. You know, as soon as we wanted to use any functionality, that the player had to have a character selected with a token attached to it. Let's see. Let's get rid of this also. Combat tracker. Okay, now we're back to a clean slate. What I call shell sheets is basically, so to create one proper, you'd have to come into library here. And then there's these different buttons up here which change what buttons you have access to here. I actually usually do all, so I just have access to all of them. But create PC is a good quick one for creating a PC. Then it gives all these buttons for classes, features, backgrounds, all the stuff you need to create a character. And so to create a character proper, you would go through all these and drag all the things out, and it would create a character sheet for you. It's pretty good. It's not as good as D&D Beyond's character creation tool, in my opinion, but it's still pretty good. And so, but we're going to go over doing a proper class create or character sheet creation later. Just in case if you really want to take advantage of all of Fantasy Grounds features, you should really do everything proper within Fantasy Grounds. The downside being that your players don't have access to their character sheets when Fantasy Grounds isn't running, which really sucks. That's one thing. That's probably the biggest thing I love about D&D Beyond is everything is all in the cloud, and players can manage their character sheets anytime they want. You know, they can import those sheets into other places, and I think there is a way to export your character sheet and then load it up in a local Fantasy Grounds thing, so you could still have access to it technically, but then you have to import the file with the changes into the next session. Like it's kind of a pain in the butt because Fantasy Grounds is basically offline. It's not hosted in the cloud. Well, even if you do the cloud hosting lobby, that's just for connections to your campaign on your computer. It's not really like it lives up there in the cloud or anything like that. And so anyway, what we're gonna do though is we're gonna right click in here. We're gonna create item. This is an empty character sheet. It has nothing on it. Okay, and we're gonna create, like I said, what's called a shell sheet. Basically, I'm going to manually fill in all the stats and everything so that rolls work properly, and then we're going to manually populate weapons and spells. That's it. We're not going to use inventory. We're not going to fill in features and traits and all this stuff. The only thing we're going to use on this tab is languages, because there's a cool feature in Fantasy Grounds we can use over here in the chat. You can type things in different languages. Oops. And then only people who speak deep speech, for example, would be able to read it. And it tells the DM who understood what. Oops, I mean to do that. Okay, and so we'll use the language feature for that too. So first of all, let's just go with Rum, my character here. Oh, hold on. Let's actually come back out here. Rum, there we go. So the first thing we do is normally you'd put in base stats, and then you would add like your race, and that would add modifiers to these here, and then increase those. But since we're not going to drag anything from the character creation tools in Fantasy Grounds. We're just going to do everything manually. The first thing I want to do is probably the name. So let's just do Rum. Okay, and then I want his portrait. So one thing I do on D&D Beyond, they don't make it easy. You can't save the portrait as, but if you do inspect, and then it'll automatically highlight the element that the picture's in. You don't need to know a lot about HTML and CSS, but it automatically has this element selected where the character picture is. And you can even see right here on style, background image, URL, and there's the URL. But you'll see it over here too, and you can right click it and open a new tab. And there you go. You got Rum's picture here. So I'm going to save that. In fact, I'm going to save it to Ventures, but I think if I put a portraits folder in here, because I never opened up that folder when in that last video for the portraits section. So let's just put rum.jpg in here. Okay, and then if we click this, I think we'll be able to find his picture. Let's see. Let's see what folder it opens up when we click that, because maybe we didn't put it in the right folder. Oh, it's just the raw portraits folder. Okay, so I guess we just got to save it there. I thought we would see a campaign folder here, but that's my bad. Or maybe we will if we go to, not library, excuse me, assets, portraits. Nope, it just has data. Interesting. Okay. All right, that's fine. Let's close these out, and then we'll just go move that. So campaigns, fantasy adventure, portraits. Copy that out. We'll just drop it in here. Okay, and then we'll go back into our campaigns and just remove that so I don't get confused by it in the future. Okay, so we got Rum. And then if we go into data, we'll find his portrait. There we are. I think it's alphabetical, so he'd be near the bottom. Automatically creates you a token. If you don't like the square token, then you have to go edit it. And oops, I have all my Fantasy Ground stuff synced to Google Drive. And okay, it's just complaining because I moved stuff around. So you can use this token just fine. It's just a tokenized version of the portrait. Or you can find a different token if you like. Go to assets and just search tokens for a Goliath. Maybe you like a different token. Maybe you want to use that. Just drag it onto the sheet. That's how you swapping tokens in Fantasy Grounds is really easy. There's just always, wherever you see a token, it could just be dragged to. I'm not sure if you can drag something onto the portrait or not. You might be able to. Oh yeah, you totally can. Okay, let's actually fix that though. Okay, so there's Rum. Got his name, got his token, and then Rum has inspiration, so we'll check inspiration. And then his class, okay, so if you click the class and level field, it gives you this little window. All you need to do is you can right click and add to create a new class, or you can just hit this little button and then hit the plus. So this just toggles editing controls. That's all those do, in case you didn't see that last time. Okay, he's a barbarian. And he is level 5. So to change these fields, I'm scrolling my mouse wheel and nothing's happening, right? Just hold control and now scroll and you can change. Or you can just click it and you can type. That works too. But sometimes it's nice to put a mouse wheel. He's not a caster, so we won't worry about that. Hit die. So you can obviously go to the class stuff and look up the hit die for hit dice for that class. But one of the easiest ways, close this out, is to just pretend you're going to take a short rest on D&D Beyond, and it tells you right there. It's 1d12. Okay, so we'll go in and we'll drag a d12. So we've got to find the d12 right here and drag it to this box. That's it. Now we got a hit die, a d12 hit die. You'll notice down here it shows hit dice, and it shows we have 5 of those. So we're level 5, so we have 1 of those for each level, and then we can take a short rest, and it will use that. Okay, that's pretty much it for this window. If you were a caster, then you would just select how many spell slots. This affects the spell slots. Usually it's just 1x, and then you only check this if it's a warlock, because then it uses the pact magic instead of the regular spellcasting rules. So that's it, and then we'll clear this back out. There we go. Okay, and then background. Normally you drag a background out, drag a race out onto these fields, but instead we're just going to manually type them. So I'm going to go to features and traits, or is it description? Folk hero, there it is. So he's a folk hero. Okay, we're just going to put that there. You probably don't, you don't have to really include this if you don't want to. I just like to. Senses. Does he have any additional senses? Nope. No additional senses. His walking speed is 40. I took a feature that made it 40 instead of 30. So I'm control scrolling. Control scrolling again, by the way, on this field. In fact, on this one, I don't think you can type. Nope. You can't type anything. So you have to control scroll this one. This is usually modified automatically by dragging class and race and all that stuff out, and features and all that. But yeah, so you have to manually adjust it. Same with initiative. Initiative is +6 thanks to my alert feat that I took. And then his AC. So we're not going to use the inventory, like I said. So you could drag a shield in there and equip it and all that, and it would modify the AC. But we're not going to. I'm just going to manually adjust it to 13. Again, control scrolling. Combat calculation. No, we won't worry about that. Anywhere you see a magnifying glass, that's going to pop up a window with more details on stuff. Don't worry about that for now. Whenever we have to change it, I'll change it. Okay, so then I just run through real fast, and I always like to, on Fantasy Ground or on D&D Beyond, I like to go to preferences here and change, because by default it's modifiers top, which puts the modifiers up here on top. But for me, I tend to like the scores on top, so I change it. It's easier and quicker to see those scores, especially when I'm creating these shell sheets. 18, 13, 15, 10, 12, 16. So 18, 13, 15, 10, 12, 16, 10, 12, oops, 16. There. Okay, so all of our stats are now correct on that side. Now we just got to do saves. Saves is automatically calculated from the base stats, except proficiency, so strength and con. Okay, so we just got to check the little star and star. Now +7 and a +5. +7, +5. Yep, those match. Okay, so pretty easy. Does he have any special movement? If you click over here, nope, just walking. So no special move, no special defenses. His max HP is 50. And one thing to keep in mind in Fantasy Grounds is to keep track of damage, instead of just having it show max health and current health. Instead, they show max health and how much damage you've taken. Wound. It's wound instead of like how much health you have left, which is super annoying. I really actually one of the biggest things I hate about Fantasy Grounds, because nobody else does it that way anymore. But you do have a box for temporary health also. So if you get a spell that's giving you temporary health, you can just add that health here. It's blue to make it obvious, and then wound here is the damage you've taken. The color of it changes as you approach, your max health. And so you can see kind of how damaged you are based on the color of that number. It's kind of cool. But yeah, it just takes some getting used to, honestly. But it's like when someone says, "Oh, how much health do you have left?" You have to be like, "Okay, 50 minus," and you have to do the little calculation in your head instead of just reading the box, which is kind of annoying. Okay, skills. So over here, we should be good again. These numbers should all be right except for proficiency. Animal handling, athletics, intimidation. Animal handling, athletics, intimidation. And then persuasion and survival. Persuasion and survival. Okay, and I just do a quick sanity check on the numbers. Animal handling is a +4. Athletics is a +7. Okay, yeah, it looks good. Persuasion is a +6. All that looks correct. Okay, abilities. We don't do anything over here except I hit this little button and I add languages. He speaks Common and Giant. So Common and Giant. That's it. I don't worry about anything else on that page. Inventory I don't touch. Notes you can fill out if you want. It's useful if you want to be able to refer to stuff quickly, like you want to have a backstory, you can put it in the notes. If you want to, it is nice to have this tab filled out a lot, because I've popped it open for players and seen stuff instead of having to go find them on D&D Beyond. But that is totally up to you. We're going to skip it for the purposes of this tutorial because it doesn't have any functionality associated with it. This is all just for your reference. The log, this is for players to use to log their adventures and keep notes and stuff. So again, that's just up to the player if they want to use. And then over here, we've got weapons and spells. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is look at weapons. So I'm not going to keep track of all my equipment, but some of it. So I have 2 hand axes, a javelin, and a morning star. And so let's go ahead with the morning star because that's his favorite weapon. This is the one area where I do tend to pull up these and put them here. But excuse me, items. Yeah, and so I would find a morning star. Oh, right, because I don't have any modules loaded. Okay, so this is like I told you, I would drag a morning star in here because it automatically configures everything. It adds the weapon, and then it adds the attack roll and the damage and all that stuff. So this is going to be a little more cumbersome if you don't have any modules, but that's okay. It's not too hard. Toggle this so you can see any of the additional controls. I always just keep it on edit mode when I'm adding stuff. Okay, let's see. How do I add weapon? There we go. Okay, so we're going to call it Morning Star. Sorry about the cat. Okay, actions, Morning Star. That's a +7 attack, so that's good. It's already got that figured out. So it already did the attack roll. And then here we can decide if it's a melee or a ranged weapon. If it's ranged, it leaves you an option to keep track of ammo if you like. I tend to try to put it as equipped. I don't know what that affects, but I think keeping it equipped makes sure that it shows up on this list as an attack you can make. I hit this little magnifying glass next to it, and now we've got this little area here, and we can add the damage. So hit that button, add damage. Okay, it is 1d8. So notice there's a little dice field here. So let's go grab a d8, drop it in there. Okay, and you can see out here 1d8 plus 4. Is that already correct? It is already correct. So that's it. All we have to add now is the type of damage, which I think is piercing. Oh, it is piercing. I was actually thinking it was bludgeoning. Cool. I guess because it has the spikes on it. Okay, so piercing. I don't know if capitalization of the first letter matters to Fantasy Grounds or not, but I have noticed they do always do it lowercase. So I'm typing the damage type in lowercase just to be safe. Making sure I spelled it right. I before E. Okay. And then close that out. You can toggle the edit off. When I'm using this page, I tend to leave it on display actions. Combat. Standard. Okay, there we go. Okay, there you go. You now have a Morning Star. You can double click this to roll the attack roll. 1d8 plus 4 piercing damage. Cool. And you can just double click these to roll them. You can drag them to the chat. Let's say for some reason your attack is enhanced and you get an extra d8. You can drag it and just right click just like you do normal dice, except it will keep the modifier and everything. So it will add those together and it'll still add the +4. And then show you the piercing damage and do the calculation. So that's pretty cool. The cooler thing, though, that we can do now is we can add this person to the combat tracker. So this is it for Rum. I'm going to show you how to add spells just because he's not a spellcaster and we didn't have any spells. But I'm going to show you how to add them anyway in case you are doing a spellcaster. But before we do that, let's put Rum in the combat tracker here. You can just drag his portrait in. You can drag him from the PC's box in there. Or I think you can drag them when the player selects him. So let's remove him. That might be the quickest way. Okay, so I'm over here as a player. I'm going to select Rum as my character. Okay, so Rum shows up in the top left as being selected by someone. Oops, I didn't mean to open that. Coda, go away. It's like these cats know I'm recording. Okay, so if I drag him, yep, you can add him to the combat tracker just like that. Okay, and then in the combat tracker, so the easiest way to create NPCs, it's not super helpful. Like if you wanted to add a bunch of them or keep track of the NPC down the road, it's not super helpful. But if you want to create something on the fly, just create a new item in the combat tracker. It can be anything you want. So it just starts out as an unidentified creature with a neutral faction or no faction. And so let's go to assets. I probably have like a goblin token or something. In fact, I know I do because we used it last time. So let's just put this guy, you just drop the token right there. Okay, and then there's a little tiny icon. Can you see? It says item not identified. So you just leave unidentified creature there, and then click that so it's identified, and then put goblin. And that way you can toggle this. So if I put, if I click it so that it's got crossed out, then the players will only see unidentified creature when they hover over the token, or look in the, or if they see it in the combat tracker. Now, right now they don't see it because it's invisible. It's invisible by default, which allows you to load stuff in the combat tracker without the players seeing it before you intend them to. And so we can, and then to duplicate this guy, well, let's give him some health. So easiest way here would be if you've got stuff on Fantasy Ground, let's just look up a goblin, or D&D Beyond. Let's look up a goblin. You can find their stat block, and let's see, he's got 2d6, 7 hit points. Okay, so we'll give him 7 hit points, and then an armor class of 15. Okay, and to modify that, we're going to click this little dragon, and then we get this little editor box. So we can put all sorts of stuff in here. Small, humanoid, goblin. That's just for your reference, really. You can put whatever you want in here. Armor class, what would we say it was? 15. Okay. And then, and then his hit points is 7. If you set it in here, it will remember it. So let's actually just delete that out here, and then we'll set this here, and I think that will be good. We may have to also set it out there, but then when we duplicate this guy, for the tracker to have multiple goblins, it will be a little better. Okay. 8, 14, 10, 10, 8, 8. 8, 14, 10, 10, 8, 8. Okay, and then in here, when you want to roll his rolls, if you want to do a check, you just double-click the little C, or just single-click, excuse me. I double-clicked it and it rolled twice. There's a strength check. If you want to do a save, you just click the S. Okay, it's double-click. You can double-click the field itself, I think. Oh, maybe not. Looks like you know how to use those 2 buttons. That's okay. Okay, you can add anything else in here. I'm not going to go into the robust details of how to add all these things. There's some of the text has to be parsed out by Fantasy Grounds in order to create stuff like actions he can take, for example. In fact, it might even be easy. Let's see. So one action he can take is Scimitar. I believe if you copy the text, Fantasy Grounds is already programmed to parse that text pretty well. Yeah, you can hover over it and see. See, it already detects the weapon attack +4 to hit, and then it detects the damage, and you can highlight them and see. You can even double-click those highlights, and it will roll them right there from this window to verify they're working, which is pretty cool. So actually, we could add actions and just copy these text blurbs right out of these boxes. Oh, oops. Put that there. And I guess what it wants us to do is put Scimitar in the black part here. And this one is short bow. And then take it out of the box here. I don't think it's hurt anything in the box, but I think that's what it wants. Yeah, that looks right. Cool. And then he's worth 50 XP. So we'll give him some XP. We don't really use that, but he's 1 out of 4 challenge rating. Yeah, we don't really need to go in and do all the rest of these. Just keep, well, let's see, what's Nimble Escape? The goblin can take the disengage. So it's nice to put these on there just to, what is that? It's not actions. It's like, what, a trait? I guess it's a trait. Nimble Escape. Paste that in there. Okay, now if you lock this, you can see everything he has, and you can still click those text blurbs. But the cooler part is he now has all these in here. Oh, wait, what? Maybe we got to create a new one of him in order for this to work properly in the combat tracker. Now that we've created him, there we go. See, it filled in his XP. I'm betting he has the actions now. Okay. Not sure why it didn't update that guy, but that's fine. Notice what I did was I drug these little dragon heads are pins. You can drag them all over. You can drag them to the chat so that people can shortcut them. I don't know if, yeah, they can't load it because it's an unidentified creature. The player can't see that, which is good. So even if I drag it to the chat. But yeah, so I'm going to make him identified by default, because as soon as they see him, they're going to know what he is. So Goblin 2, since I created one earlier. If they open the combat tracker, he'll only see himself. Rum only sees himself. But if we go click this little eyeball, there we go. Now we can see the Goblin 2. We can see the status of his health and everything. Let's say that they make friends. Just you can drag these faction icons onto them. Okay, now he's a friendly goblin. And friendly tokens can be moved around by the friendly players. So if they have like a little companion or something and they need to move the token out of the way, they can now do that. Okay, so that was the quick way to create an NPC in here. The best way, though, is to... I'm going to just hit all here, so I have all the buttons on the right side. NPCs. So you'll notice in here, I still don't have any NPCs. So even though I went through all this work of creating this guy, he only is attached to the combat tracker, and as soon as I delete him, he's gone. As soon as the combat tracker empties out, he's gone. Make him evil again. But what's cool is before I show you this, actually, I just wanted to show you if I start combat, and I think I do, no, it's like this. There we go. So start combat, and it automatically goes through the combat tracker and takes everyone's turn, gives everyone a turn. But what's cool is if I go through, let's go, so it's Rum's turn, and then I'll collapse this, and then if it's Goblin's turn, it automatically opens up the actions he has when it's his turn. So you can see Nimble Escape. So it doesn't have any functionality, but at least quickly you can see what he can do. And then he's got the Scimitar. And then you've got the attack and the damage. You can just roll it all right here in the combat tracker, which is super cool. It's really useful for NPCs. You used to be able to see a lot of the actions from player characters in the combat tracker a long time ago in Fantasy Grounds Classic. But it became way too hard, I guess, to maintain, and there was just a shitload of stuff, so it was filling up the tracker. So now you just got to open their sheet and go to the Actions tab to see what they can do. That's not a huge deal. This tab now just shows some basic stuff, like whether they've used their reaction, what their initiative is, what their AC is, and their speed. So just some basic stats real quick, so you can tell that right off the bat. There's other things in here. You can see their attributes. You can see their targets. So, and I believe players can actually see the targets. Oh, no, they can't. Okay. All right, I think it's time for us to get... well, before I pop a map open, let's show you how to save this guy. So, let's say I created this guy in the combat tracker like I did, and I filled him out, and I added a bunch of stuff. Let's say I want to save him. I need to drag this little dragon head over here and save him. Okay, and then I'm just going to edit him and make him a normal goblin. Okay, and then we'll just keep him in there, and that's our little goblin that we just created. I'm going to delete this guy out of the tracker now, and now I can drag these in whenever I want. So, and then it automatically rolls initiative in here. That's just a setting, whether or not it rolls initiative. And then also, so that's actually one thing, auto roll NPC initiative and group. I don't know why that's the default. I like it off, because then I can use this menu, and I can go to initiative, and I can roll NPC initiatives like that. And then also I set it to on instead of group, because it rolls them individually. So which I think is way better, because the only reason you do them as a group in real life is because it's hard to keep track of individual NPCs. But when it's doing it for you, it seems to make more sense to me to have each one have a different initiative. I don't know why. That just makes more sense to me. If you can choose however you like. But yeah, so now I can roll, just add these guys in. It automatically appends numbers to their name. Notice it doesn't modify these over here. So if you modify these, so let's say this goblin has a special ability. I'm gonna unlock this sheet. Hit the little lock at the top, and I'm gonna add a new action here, and it's just called throw rock. He likes to throw rocks for some reason. It's a ranged weapon attack. I'm going to follow the format of these other things, with a +4 to hit, a range of I don't know, 10 to 50 feet. He can't throw that far. One target, and the hit is so on a hit it's going to do 1d6. Let's see. Hit 5, 1d6. What does that mean? One d6 plus 2. I don't know what the 5 means. Okay, I don't know what the 5 means. Hit 5. Oh, that's like the average, I think. Okay, right. Okay, so all it really cares about is the parenthesis. So let's just do, yeah, we'll do 1d6. We'll just do 1d6. Does that work? Nope, it's not parsing it. Let's see, does it have to be in parenthesis? Yeah, see, it's nice to be able to see that it's not parsing it. I don't know. Do I do a 4 and then it will work? Oh, because I don't have the damage type. Bludgeoning damage. There, now it works. I wonder if I can take off that average then. And just use the parenthesis. Oh, yeah, okay. Cool. Just does 1d6 bludgeoning damage. Awesome. So I created a custom action now. And Goblin 3 is the only one who has that action. Why does it... It's weird that it doesn't update this. That must be a bug. Because I've definitely added his action, but it's not adding the text out here. So we can do it at least manually though, I'm sure. So if I go in here, Control A, copy, put that out here, throw rock R. Oh, yeah, I guess we can just manually craft this. Could probably just re-add him to the tracker and then delete this guy, but I'm sure that this would work too. Or not. Oh no, it's working now. Okay. I just had to unfocus the field for it to submit. Okay, so now I could roll the attack. Oh, we rolled a 20. Oh, and look, it even doubles the damage properly. So you rolled a 20, and it doubled the damage on throw rock. So it takes care of that for you when you hit a crit. So cool. So, but he is the only one who has that now. So these other guys don't. So keep that in mind. It's you can. I guess probably maybe the reason why they do it the way they do it here is that you can just manually add more attacks right here in the combat tracker. You don't have to edit this sheet. That's probably why. But so if I wanted to add more of this guy who has throw rock, you can open up this here, and then now that I have that open, let's test this. So I know that while it's open, I can drag another one in here, and then he'll have throw rock. Yep, and it works perfectly fine. And then we can delete this guy. Okay, good. So I deleted that guy, and it took that window away. That's what I was afraid of. So that window that we pop open is directly linked to this combat tracker entry and nowhere else. That's what this NPC's window is for. This is where you create the root of an NPC, and then you can pass it, copy it into the combat tracker basically, and it's a copy in here, and you can modify that copy all you want, and it won't affect this guy. So this guy does not have throw rock because it doesn't affect the original entry. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're adding stuff. A lot of times when we're playing games, I will just throw stuff in the combat tracker real fast. Like, oh, you met a dude named George, and I'll just be like, okay, here's George. He's a human, and here's a random token. I'll go find a token and I'll throw it on there, and he has 20 health, and then I'll add abilities to him real fast. So yeah, but it's nice that you can drag that into the NPC thing later. Just don't forget to do that or you lose the entry and you'll have to recreate it. Okay. Sometimes it might just be easier to come in here and create new and fill all this out and then just save it and then be able to drag that new guy in there. Also, it does give you a default token if you do that, apparently, because, yeah, it gave me a Z there. I wonder if I give him a name, George, and I close this and drag that in there. Oh yeah, gives me a G token. Nice. So there you go. That's actually, I recommend doing it that way then. And he's already a bad guy and everything, and I didn't even have to fill anything in. I just filled in his name. So create new NPCs over here in the NPCs window and drag them in. That's way easier. Makes more sense. And then that way, when you need to add stuff to them, you can just add things on the fly and not worry about saving it out of the tracker. Now you're free to use stuff like delete all foes from tracker, delete all non-friendly, and then like, oh shit, I forgot to save George. But if you create him over here already, he's still there. So I'm gonna delete him though. Actually, I'm gonna delete the goblin too. Let's go back to Rum real fast, and now that you know how to like add an NPC on the fly, and let's just show you how to add a spell real fast, and then we'll go to a map and I'll show some combat. Okay, so let's just open the spells window. Okay, all right, we're gonna have to do the same thing. So we don't have spells. We're gonna have to create a power. And if I remember right. Okay, this is complicated when you're not using the stuff that's built in. I think I just do spells. Yep, and without a level, it's cantrips. Okay, and then you have to set the base ability. So, like, if you're a sorcerer, I believe it's charisma is your spellcasting ability. You got to set that on the power group. So spells is the power group, and you got to set that on charisma, and then you're gonna have to add. Let's go find the spell. Let's just do that real fast. Let's find Firebolt. Okay. And that's a cantrip, I believe. Yep. Okay. And let's just do okay. Firebolt. I forget how to tweak this. Do we click? Okay, here we go. So once you're out of editing mode, so when you're in editing mode, you won't see that little dragon head. So get out of editing mode, and you'll see the little dragon head. And then let's say we already chose charisma. Okay, we're pretending we're a sorcerer right now. And then so now we can fill this out. So let's just put summary here. Spell Firebolt, level 0. Yep. The school is evocation. Okay, and can it be cast as a ritual? No. No, that would be no pointless for a cantrip, I guess. Casting time is 1 action. Range is 120 feet. Components, V and S, verbal and somatic. Duration, instantaneous. We'll fill all this in. Okay, and I'm not sure how we get the damage out of this thing. Maybe it's not, maybe I don't want to fill in summary. Maybe I just fill in this. Okay, and then on a hit, the target takes 1d10 fire damage. Okay, let's close this guy up. There's different views here. Wondering how. Oh, I think I remember. Right click. When in doubt, right click. We're going to reparse spell action. Oh, sweet, that worked. Oh shit, that's awesome. All I did was paste the description of that spell into this box. And then I right clicked, and I did reparse spell actions. It read the text, and it created this stuff for us. So we now have the ranged attack +6, and there's a save. Wait, is there a save? Attack save range on a hit. The target takes spells damage increased. Why is this saying? What does this mean? Attack save range. Oh. It's attack or saves. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so there's no save. So if we go to actions now, there we go. We got the attack and the damage. Sweet. And that I always like to leave it on the actions view. That makes it simple. And then if you need to see stuff, you can hit this little magnifier. But anyway, what we could have done, let's actually load this up and get rid of that text. I love that, how easy that is, though. Okay, let's reparse the spell text now. Okay, got rid of it all. Okay. Now let's go right click and go add action. Okay, now you can add different things. So we want to add a cast, because we're definitely going to have a cast. And then click the little magnifier. And then we're going to do, let's see, attack. You know what? Let's I want to see, one of the best things you can do sometimes is to just, okay, we'll close that. We'll have this guy reparse his actions so that he has that. Let's look at what they did in here. Okay, so a ranged group attack. That's all they did. Okay, so we could manually do that up here. Ranged. Okay, cool. Yeah, ranged +6, and then we want to add damage. Okay, so we're gonna come down. Let's actually close this one. Come down here. Oh no, we're gonna re-click again. Add action. And that's damage. Okay, so now we can have a damage field. And then, so this is all complicated, but we are gonna. I am gonna show you, if you just buy like at least 3 modules, you'll save yourself a lot of work on this shit. But I want you to know how to do this, just in case. Okay, so the damage is a 1. Oh, what was it again? It was 1d10. Okay, so we'll take a d10, drop it in that box, and then it was fire damage. 1d10 fire. Which should be the same. Yep, now they look the same. So I manually did one, and I had it parse the spell text for the other. Honestly, start with the spell text for sure. I want to do one more thing. I want to create a new one. I want to call this one just FB for short, so I can keep it separate from the others. And then I want to go in and add the spell text to the summary. And see what it does if I parse that. Okay, so it does not parse the summary. So don't paste it in the summary box. Paste it in this box down here, which has no label, which makes it confusing. But yeah, the best way is if you have a module already, like I say, you have the player's handbook, you're going to have a bunch of spells and stuff already predefined in the spells list. And so you can use those to copy and see how they format all the details. That's the best way I learned on how to fill these sheets out, basically, for NPCs and spells and stuff, is by seeing how the pre-done modules are already filled out. Okay, so let's go ahead and just, now if we parse this, just to double check. Yep, cool, awesome. So I'm actually going to delete all of these, because Rum doesn't have any of that. But you've now seen how to create different power groups. If you name it spells, it will automatically keep track. Let's actually do that real fast. So add a power group. I'm going to name it spells. How did I do that last time? Oh, right. So power. So this is the group. So you can change what group. Let's put Firebolt here. You can change what group it's in by this box. And so if you put spells in the box, it automatically changes the name of the power group. And then, let's see. Oops, what did I do? I don't know how I did that. Okay, and then if we add a new item to the power group. No, holy shit. What am I doing? Okay. Create item. Okay, yeah, so see how I created a new item and it doesn't have spells as the group, so it put it in its own group called powers. So if I put something for the spell name, and then I put it as spells again, it'll drop it down here and consolidate the categories. That confused me. It took me a while to figure that out. The one thing though is, see, it says cantrips. It automatically knows the spells category, and like parses it and does stuff with it. So that's one of the things Fantasy Grounds does, is just based on something with text, it will like have additional functionalities. Like it already knows these are cantrips because they're level 0. So if I change level or something to level 1, let's check that out. It automatically split it into a new power group. There's still both spells, but this one's a level 1 spell, so now it's got a level 1 group, and so it moves those over, and that's kind of annoying. One thing we should probably also look at is go back to the class and level. Let's change this to caster, so that we're a caster now, and now we should be able to see preparation. There we go. Here's our spell slots. So we can choose how many spell slots we have. So let's just say we have like a couple of those. Okay, and then let's move to combat. There you go. Now you can set up your spell slots. I actually don't think this shit mattered for that. No, it did not. We manually set this up. I'm not actually sure what that caster field does, to be honest. I just always set it up to the way it does it when I build these automatically. So anyway, yeah. So there you go. This is the complicated part of building a shell sheet. Is this area? If we go to preparation and drop these back to 0, they will stop showing spell slots. Cool. Okay. So yeah, non-spellcasters are much easier, but it's really not that hard to manually create everything if you want to. But let's go ahead and end this video here. This is a pretty long video, and creating the shell sheets gets easier and easier. But this way, all you have to do when you come into the game, this allows your players to use D&D Beyond sheets, like I do in all my campaigns. And then just before each game, I run through all their sheets and make sure their stats and stuff are the same. And then I clear out their action lists and I add their actions. I can do that really fast because I own the modules, so I can drag spells and items onto their action list and I'm done. I don't have to do all this manual creation stuff. But it is good to know because sometimes you want to create something cool manually and you just don't know how. So this is how you do it. And this is how you use Fantasy Grounds for free too, by the way. So it is a little extra work to use it for free without any modules. And when I say free, I just mean you don't have to buy the modules. You still have to pay for the Ultimate subscription if you don't want your players to have to pay for a subscription. Otherwise, everyone has to have a standard subscription. So thanks, guys. I'll catch you in the next video.